Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our daily update. Today I'm joined by Deputy Premier Darlene Compton, also the Minister of Justice and Public Safety, Tanya Mullally from EMO, and we're also pleased to have Kim Griffin from Maritime Electric to provide us with an update on their ongoing efforts. To begin, as of 2:30, this is what we know. That the morning assessments of the damage and impacts of Hurricane Fiona hit us with full force. Maritime Electric is in the midst of assessing the infrastructure damage. They're using helicopters for aerial assessment and other avenues, and Kim will provide us a further update on that. But also transportation crews and officials have been out since early this morning assessing infrastructure, and the initial assessments say that overall, our road infrastructure may have fared out a little bit better than we initially thought, but that there are considerable pockets of severe damage all across Prince Edward Island, especially around the areas that saw the tidal surge. There are currently 6 roads completely closed. Many other bridges are impassable. There are over 50 crews out working to complete their assessment. And I've asked Minister Deagle to come out tomorrow to provide an update when that assessment is complete and to include within that a pathway back that we can share with Islanders. Also within our initial assessment, we know there is considerable damage to at least 6 schools. The Department of Education and Lifelong Learning are working on contingency plans now. But for now, all schools across the province will be closed for Monday and Tuesday at least, and a further announcement will come for the remainder of the week on Tuesday morning. Minister Jamieson will provide information in the days ahead as it becomes available. Yesterday, a request was sent to the federal government to provide assistance with our recovery and cleanup. That request has been operationalized, and just moments ago, before we went live, we received official confirmation that over 100 military personnel will arrive later tonight and will be on the ground assisting our crews by tomorrow morning. I want to thank the Prime Minister, Minister LeBlanc, Minister Macaulay, and Minister Blair for their assistance and for turning this request around with such urgency. I know there are lots of discussions taking place across Prince Edward Island about the availability of gas. There is fuel. The challenge has been the electricity at the tank farm in Charlottetown. Just moments ago, we have received confirmation that there is now power at the tank farm, which should allow for the distribution to community gas stations to begin as soon as possible. Provincial Cabinet has been meeting multiple times a day for the last few days, and again this morning. We have operationalized 3 cabinet committees that will focus on one industry in the economy. That's led by Minister Thompson, chaired by Minister Thompson, and will include Ministers Fox and McLean. We have our Committee for Infrastructure and Recovery, which will be chaired by the Deputy Premier, Minister Compton, and will be also include Ministers Myers and Deagle. And then we have our social supports, which will be chaired by Minister McKay, which will include Ministers Jamieson and Hudson. All of these committees, of course, will work together along with all of their counterparts and to make sure we're dealing with this as quickly and urgently as possible. As part of our crisis management planning, which sadly we have considerable experience in our short time in government. It includes plans for each department to ensure the continuity of business for government. So as we know, government needs to continue. It needs to offer critical services like healthcare, long-term care, seniors programs. We have to pay our bills and process payments. And that's part of what these cabinet committees will look at as much as other things. As part of the plan, each department has a business continuity coordinator. They're supporting our senior management, our deputy ministers, and we'll be working closely with our cabinet subcommittees, as I said, to ensure that ministerial and departmental responsibilities are prioritized as part of our overall government planning and recovery. These coordinators are meeting regularly and contingency plans are in place. And as issues and concerns are identified, we will work to deal with them as quickly as possible. Announcements on what government services will be available tomorrow and for the rest of the week will be made later today. I would like to say also that Minister Jameson and her team are working with childcare operators and assessing the needs for emergency childcare services for our essential workers. Department is communicating with centers now to determine who and when they may be up and running, and we expect this will take some time, and much of it will be directly connected to the restoration of electricity. When we know more, we will provide more information, but it is a priority for us to ensure that essential workers have access to childcare in the coming days and to have that as soon as possible. There are over 30 reception centers now open across the province. And there is a listing available on our storm response website. We also have local radio stations who are helping us to share information as to where the locations of these centers are. In addition to that, we have received confirmation that temporary shelter services at Jack Blanchard Hall in Charlottetown have been extended for at least 2 more days. For those in need, we're happy to provide that service. I know that also connectivity and reception for cell phones has been a challenge over the last couple of days. Our telecom providers are assessing their infrastructure today as well. We anticipate with electricity coming back online when that is happening, that the issue will help to resolve itself in the coming days. We have seen and heard tremendous acts of community spirit, of neighbors helping neighbors, complete strangers, stopping in to check on people and to help them clear their driveways. I'm so pleased to hear this. This is exactly what our province is all about, the generosity, the kindness, rallying together when we need to work together. Islanders have always been known to band together, and this is one more difficult time that we need this more than ever, and so I'm just very, very pleased that this is happening. We also know that businesses, individuals, industries have been hit hard. And in the coming days, we'll be working on an urgent financial assistance package. This is only in the preliminary stages, but like I've said, our government will do whatever we can do as fast as we can do it, as long as it takes to help our province get through these challenging situations. I also, on my conversation with Dominic LeBlanc, we know that there is considerable damage to our wharf and fishing infrastructure in Prince Edward Island. That's even more magnified because those in LFA 25 are still in the final stages of their fall fishing season. So we're going to try to do everything we can to have that season complete as safely as possible. And the federal government, with the kind offering of Prime Minister Trudeau, along with Dominic LeBlanc and Minister Macaulay, said that they will put together an urgent plan with the finances required to get our wharves rebuilt as fast as possible, and they know that is a priority, and they will be working with our government and other governments in the Atlantic region to make that announcement as soon as possible. Also, if you have a friend or a family member or a neighbor that you have not heard from at this point, I think I would like to say that you should find someone to physically go check on them if you haven't done that already. Work with local law enforcement as well, but we just want to make sure all of our family and friends and neighbors are fully accounted for. We've also, as I've said, the experience we have in this that I wish all Islanders didn't have, we've come to learn that in crisis, in the early stages of crisis, we know there are many more questions than there are answers. I want to tell Islanders that we have an army of people working to address the many challenges we face, and I know there are many, and we're working hard to find those answers, and we will keep our lines of communication open through avenues like this and others to make sure Islanders are as informed as possible and to help provide as many answers as we can in these times. One thing we know is that the magnitude and the severity of the damage is beyond anything that we've seen in our province's history. Efforts are underway and have already begun to clean up, but this will take a Herculean effort by thousands of people over the coming days and weeks. And as I say, it will take time. I urge Islanders to practice as much understanding and patience and kindness as we can. I know we live in a world where we can just sideswipe and have things dropped off at our door, but the effort that's going to take place, that's going to be needed to take place to clean up this province and to get it back operational is not something that's going to be done quickly. So I would again ask for your patience and understanding and kindness. And finally, before I turn it over to the Deputy Premier, I'd just like to say that our daily lives, again, have been uprooted here. But with that patience and understanding and that spirit of community that Islanders are known for, we can work our way through this. We will work our way through this together. And I just urge that patience and kindness in the days ahead. So thank you very much. And Darlene?
Thank you very much, Premier. Good afternoon, everyone. Looking outside at this beautiful day, it's really hard to believe that a hurricane passed through the island and devastated so much property. Provincial crews, Maritime Electric and partners have been doing assessments all morning, and this work continues, and I think it's fair to say it's going to take days. Transportation and private contractors are clearing roads. That's a first priority so that Maritime Electric crews can get the poles fixed and restore power. And I'll just add a little codicil to that we've got private contractors and transportation doing that work, but as lines become live again, we have to have Maritime Electric crews with them to ensure that everyone remains safe. So please remember that and be patient. Every conversation that I've had with Minister Blair, I've stressed to him and made him aware that we're going to need help. And last night I sent him our first letter requesting federal assistance. What I looked for were resources to help us clear the roads. And as the Premier mentioned, we have over 100 personnel, military personnel, arriving this evening and will be on the ground tomorrow. I'm assured by our Maritime Electric partners that they have made plans to resource up. I also want to reiterate that if they need more assistance, that we will offer that assistance to them, anything that we have that can help. Tanya will speak to these more broadly, but I know what I've seen myself in my own area, that trees are down everywhere. Power is out for the majority of us. There have been some fires. The Stanhope Golf Course clubhouse is gone. There have been some structure fires and some related to generator use. Our healthcare facilities are operating, but some appointments may be impacted. As the Premier mentioned, our school system is impacted and there will be no school. We will be closed for Monday and Tuesday with further announcements to follow. Our government buildings are being assessed, but it's safe to say that most of the civil service will have to work from home as best as possible. We will have additional information soon on that. I've been advised that the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, and the Provincial Court, all three have cancelled hearing matters on Monday, and further updates will be provided soon. Municipalities and local authorities have been doing a great job opening up reception centers and keeping us informed so that we can keep you informed. If anyone is unsure, please reach out to them. I know it's nice out there now, and I've witnessed it coming into town today. There are many people out cleaning up their own properties. We are working on plans for disposal for all of that debris, and just some helpful things that you can do to help us would be to keep debris away from the curb at least 10 feet, to keep it away from power lines and poles or anything that could get in the way of the crews or Maritime Electric. If you are operating any equipment as part of your own cleanup efforts or helping someone else out, please make sure that you exercise great care. And now, before I turn it over to Tanya, I want to say to Islanders, thank you. Thank you for taking this seriously. Thank you for looking out for one another. It's times like these that we see how we rally together, and the countless stories that I've been hearing from Islanders about helping one another out. It shows me that we can get through anything together. So thank you very much. Invite people to your home. If you've got a generator, help them maybe with stuff in their freezer that you can help them preserve. If they need a shower or power, anything up, please reach out to one another, and as Islanders, we'll get through this together. Now I'll turn it over to Tanya.
Thank you, Minister. first time, I think, in a few days where I haven't had to start off with a weather report, so that's kind of nice. I guess we'll focus now on the initial assessments, and as always, already spoken to, the efforts that are out there are significant. We're hearing and seeing about that, and certainly here provincially at our Provincial Emergency Operations Center, we have representatives from all those key agencies here attempting to coordinate so that we ensure that all the needs of islanders and that those prioritization efforts are handled efficiently and in cooperation with each other. As noted, reception centers are open across the province. Certainly encourage you to reach to your municipality to determine like the when they're open, if they have specific hours, so that you don't show up in case they're closed for a particular period of time. And certainly noting that some of these centers may have to modify their operations in case they didn't have power. The damage reporting tool that we had mentioned to you a couple of days ago is operating today. And again, if you recall, the purpose behind that was to help paint a picture for us provincially of the scope of damage and where the issues are in what particular area of the province. So it would help us direct those resources to that particular area. So it's holding up well. We've had approximately 116 people submit in reports to us, and it's already painting that picture of what the need is and where the damage is. So we appreciate that, and all the photos that's being posted up online. I've created a special folder that I'm holding all those pictures in so that we have details for that. So noting we are only day one, 24 hours in, it seems more like a bit of a lifetime already, but then the days are going to be longer. It's going to continue for several more, and as the Premier said, we certainly need your patience to help us get through that. We talked a little bit about disaster financial assistance and that online reporting tool and kind of what do islanders need to do today as you're working on your cleanup. First off, as our minister here spoke, is to make sure that you're safe doing so. So when you're operating all those tools that you're doing that with safety in mind. The other piece is around what's next on that, and what we want you to encourage you to do is please reach out to your insurance agency. Make sure that they are aware that you have damage, inquire with them what coverage you have. You should also be taking photos, video, and holding on to those in case a claim is needed. They'd be looking for that, so that would be really important activities to do so you can document all those efforts so that you don't have to go by memory when you actually get to a point of submitting a claim. We do want to encourage people to, as much as possible, please stay home or as close to home as possible. Not only for the emergency response, who are out on the roads trying to clear roads and respond to emergencies, but also with the fuels, without power and the inability to access fuel completely. We don't want you filling up your gas tanks to drive around and look at damage when we really need to be prioritizing those fuel for emergency response and essential services. So if you can just stick close to home for the next couple of days, if I could ask that. So certainly our priority is to those crews, the restoration efforts, and I anticipate over the next couple of days you're going to see a lot of those on the roads around your neighborhoods. Just a little bit on generators and kind of safe practice. Again, it's a beautiful day outside. Hopefully that people don't need to use generators. It's warm enough, so you shouldn't need it for heat, but I appreciate that people are using generators. So just make sure that if you're using those portable generators, that you're using them outside. They should not be operated inside under any circumstances because of the risk of carbon monoxide. And of course, in the evening, you should not be leaving your candles unattended. If you're using those, hopefully you have battery-operated candles to operate if you need that. Most of all, I just really want to thank everybody. It's been a challenging number of days for us here, but I can only appreciate the challenges that you're facing. I personally haven't been home in a couple of days. I'm hoping that I might manage that way tonight. I'm not even sure if my roads are cleared off yet to make that way. So I just really appreciate all the efforts and all the kind words that we've been getting, emails and texts and notes from people all across the country, actually, indicating that they're thinking of us and supportive of us. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to now turn it over to Kim to talk about Maritime Electric. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is new for me. I'm not even sure where to look, so do I look here? Okay, thank you. I apologize. Thank you, Premier and Deputy Premier, for inviting Maritime Electric to give an update. We appreciate that. I guess I'll start by saying that I've been overwhelmed by the incredible behind-the-scenes work from across the province and the departments and the work that's happening to get people safe and get us ready. We have 100% support from the province and personnel to help us do the work that we need to do, so I would like to thank you for that very much. In terms of the team here at EMO, it's just been an excellent round-the-clock working relationship trying to get things back in order. So as was mentioned, and as many people know, it's been a devastating storm for us all across Prince Edward Island. We have almost all of our customers were without power, about 92% of them. We were able to start to get a small pocket on today of about 1,000 customers in the downtown area that feeds the Irving Gas as well as the QEH. But that being said, that just happened. And if you asked me that this morning, we are still assessing today and tomorrow. So for us, Monday and Tuesday is full assessment. We are not even halfway through of our assessment across Prince Edward Island. We had our crews out at 6:30 this morning. We also had our spotters that go ahead of our crews to assess damage. We've worked very closely with the Department of Transportation in terms of making sure that roads are clear or there's assistance to do so, as well as the Department of Forestry helping us clear lines when needed and making plans to have that done over the next couple of days where we need it. So it's almost fair to say that we don't know what we don't know yet. And I'm saying that quite honestly because the devastation that we're hearing across the province has been significant. That being said, the helicopter patrolling the island as of the last 30 minutes hadn't seen anything major on our transmission line yet. So that's a good sign. It's a perfect day to be doing an assessment. As Minister Compton mentioned, it is a beautiful day out there, and there is that incredible opportunity to think about, should I get out there and start doing my work? And what terrifies me is the fact that as we start to do work on the system, as we start to energize, there are still so many lines down all across Prince Edward Island, and we have people driving over them, walking over them, being near them, trying to cut things down that they may not even see a power line. And I'm terrified that something's going to happen and hurt somebody. So please be very careful. I know you want to get out. I understand that. But our crews are pleading with us to make sure that we help you understand how dangerous it can be. In terms of our initial assessment right now, we have over 300 poles that are down across Prince Edward Island, and we're not complete with our assessment yet. I'm not sure about transmission or towers, as I had mentioned, so we're just in that stage now. When the helicopter comes in, we'll have an aerial report tonight. Our team is meeting every 4 hours throughout the day, and I'm committing to you that we will update you every 24 hours of our updates and assessment and restoration efforts. I do want to share with people, though, that we could be into many days, and we don't know because we don't have the full assessment of the damage yet. I do want to assure you that our contact center is open 24/7 as well. You can call us at 1-800-670-1012 if you need to talk to anyone 24 hours a day, ask questions about generator safety, as Tanya had mentioned, any questions that you may have about from a safety perspective, information about if things in your fridge are going to go bad, those kind of questions. There's people there to help you, as well as we have it online, but we understand that there's been mobile issues as well as bandwidth issues. So if you have a ground line or your mobile line, you can certainly use that to phone us, and we're there. So I think that's everything I had to say. We've had over 4,500 phone calls from Islanders at our contact center. People have been extremely kind, much like everyone has already mentioned, and really proud of the fact that Islanders have been really good to each other and offering to help our crews. And we've had more people with chainsaws than I've seen in a long time. So just hold tight. But I guess the other thing is that we are here to look after each other, not only at this table, but all across PEI. So we just want to thank you, and we're happy to give updates as needed, whatever you need.
Well, thank you very much, Kim, Tanya, Minister. We will now open up the phone lines to some questions from our friends in the media.
So before we get started, I'd just like to remind everyone to please have their phones on mute. I'll call on you, and then you can unmute yourself. If you're unable to do that, please step into a room that's a little bit quieter. So we'll start now with Steve Bruce from CBC.
Hi to you all. A question for Kim, first of all. I mean, given the assessment that you have done so far, can you give any more of a timeline in terms of, when the average household will see their power back on, how long it'll be before everyone is complete?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would be misleading if I gave you an answer. Right now, we have some pockets into Charlottetown and east and west in PEI where we have line crews. So Islanders may see line crews in certain areas working on our distribution lines. So our focus for restoration right now is transmission, so that aerial view, and then we're having crews and personnel deployed to our substations all across Prince Edward Island to make sure that things are okay there. And when we get that clear, what we're doing, if you see crews who say, yeah, things are going pretty good here locally in my community tonight, well, that's because they're getting the system ready so that when we can energize, that it's safe to do so. So I think it's going to have to be a day-to-day update. I apologize, but we don't have the assessment completed yet.
And in terms of just prioritizing, when you're dealing with the whole island, how are you going to make those decisions about, where to go first, who gets their power back on first?
Yeah, very fair question. I mean, so in terms of the assessment that we put into place, so once we have our assessment completed by tomorrow, so we'll have a lot of information today. So for example, if big pockets of transmission are okay all across the island, we'll be going after the biggest numbers and essential services first. So we'll be focusing on hospitals, fire halls, police stations, making sure, as well as with the cell towers as well, making sure what we understand right now is on generator power, they're okay. But for us, it'll be all about making sure that we prioritize essential services first.
Thanks so much. And just a question for, I guess, the Premier and Tanya, perhaps. In terms of the telecommunications problems people have been having, not being able to access cellular data, to make calls. I mean, did you see this problem coming when you saw the forecast with this storm? And what role does the province play in trying to improve things now?
Look, I mean, we've been talking to the telecom providers. I know that their systems themselves are running on generators as well as we wait for power. So we assume that's a certain component of that. They have reached out and offered more data to Islanders yesterday because of some of the challenges. But in terms of, any foreplanning in that regard, it's, something that, I think we prioritized many things along the way. And we will continue to talk to the telecom providers. But I think as power comes more available, like I can just know myself, today the service is better than it was yesterday. And as I say, that probably stems from the telecom providers working to provide more data, et cetera. But we also realize that when everybody's home with nothing to do with the power out, they try to access their phone, and the data usage is probably higher than it's ever been. So, these are just challenges that we'll continue to try to deal with. But Tanya?
I don't know if I have much more to add. You asked if we seen this coming, or I think if you recall, just prior to Fiona's arrival, our words were, is prepare for the worst, and this is kind of our worst. And so now we're just trying to work at trying to get all those things back to that new normal for us. But it will take time. It is usage. It is, we haven't heard any reports at this time from those telecommunication folks in regards to any damage to those sites. Right now, it's just they're running on generator or they're running on battery. Once they have that ability to have kind of permanent power, then, and maybe as people are getting back into things might actually normalize a little bit. So it might not have anything to do with any damage. So again, it's just going to take some time to get through that.
Okay, thanks so much to you all.
Tony Davis, CBC.
Hey, you can hear me there?
Loud and clear, Tony.
Yeah.
Hello? Okay, perfect. All right, I'm just on my cell phone as we were talking about. It's a little bit shoddy. So we've seen damage at, I know Islanders have been asked to stay off the road so debris can be cleared, things like that. What advice do you have for those Islanders who might need fuel to power generators, who may have lost, food and need to go to the grocery store?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, there are essential things that you will need to move out and about with. And I think what islanders, me included, we have encountered is that you don't know what a road situation is until you travel down that road. But most roads, as Kim and others have suggested, have been impacted in some way, shape, or form. So there's trees blocking them and wires and things like that. So, our encouragement to keep people home has been to, allow as much freedom as we can for our crews to make the assessments they have to make and to get to work. But I also know in reality that not everyone has heeded that advice. I know yesterday when we completed our briefing and I tried to make my way home, that it was about 50 minutes to get out of Charlottetown. I mean, there was thousands of cars and there's no traffic lights. So, I mean, I'm not sure what everyone needed to be out and about for. I wish I could have stayed home, but we needed to be here. And look, we're asking people to use some common sense. If you have to get out to get food, obviously that's a trip you'll have to make. Some of the grocery stores are getting open now, so that will help. Some of our community stores have some generators, obviously you have to get out for essentials. But if you don't need to move around, as Tanya and Kim and Minister Compton have said, we would just encourage you to stay as close to home as possible to allow our workers to get as much work done as possible.
Okay, now obviously we've heard a lot about Maritime Electric, but there's also an electric utility in Summerside. Any updates from the province at all on how people in Summerside are handling things?
So I can probably offer a little bit. I don't have firm details. I know that our EMO staff were reaching to Summerside to get an assessment on the kind of the state of the situation up in Summerside. I have heard some informal reports that they have some power. I don't know if they have complete power, but some of those, I think the grocery store, one of the superstore, I think, was fully operational. So that tells me that they do have power up there.
Just one more follow-up there. With Maritime Electric, you said 300 poles are down across the province. Now, do you have that, stocked on the island to replace those poles, or are those going to have to be brought in from other areas?
Yeah, so when I mentioned the 300 poles, that was our assessment as of within the last hour or so before we started chatting. So a couple of things. We had pre-ordered poles before Fiona hit. But we also had 3 truckloads arrive today, and we have more coming if needed. So in terms of the having supplies on the pole side, we feel that we have enough right now, but we certainly have access. We also have access to, other crews that are en route now for the next day or two that are coming too, and they'll also have supplies if we need them.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Gabrielle Simon, Radio Canada.
Hi, good afternoon. Maybe my question will be for the Premier. So I know you started making all the assessments yesterday and today, but I would like to know, do you have any estimations about how much all the reparations, all the repairings, and all the cleaning work will cost for the province?
I don't. I said yesterday that we're operating under the assumption that it will be multi-millions. Nothing has changed my view from information that I've learned. It's probably gone higher than that. I think when this is all said and done, when we talk about, rebuilding wharves and doing all the things we need to do, that this will be probably the biggest recovery project that we've ever had to deal with. And what the final number will be, I don't know, but I expect it will be significant.
Okay. So another question about the recovery that you were mentioned. I talked to the mayor of Charlottetown this morning, Philip Brown, and he was saying that the city needs help because there's a lot of cleaning work to do. So what kind of help the province could offer to the municipalities in general right now? I don't know if there will be any funds that will be offered to the municipalities at this point.
Yeah, and look, that's a great question. And when we look at the cleanup of Prince Edward Island. That includes all of our municipalities, of course. So obviously with our transportation infrastructure crews and others, we'll try to work and coordinate that recovery with all municipalities as soon as possible. In terms of financing and cost, I talked with the Mayor of Summerside yesterday, and I've offered to him, and I would make the same offer to Mayor Brown and other mayors of municipalities that, we will be there to help. We will work with our federal government to help offer financial assistance packages, so that should not be any kind of hindrance to getting the work done. We can get the work done, and we can pay the bill when it comes, and we'll be glad to do our part along with others to do that.
Okay, maybe my last question would be about, because I know some communities, a few communities in Nova Scotia, they declared the state of emergency there. So we don't have that yet here on PEI, so I would like to know why you didn't declare state of emergency after Fiona here on Prince Edward Island.
Sure, and this is a question we answered yesterday in the briefing, but I would go again to Tanya. But essentially, everything that we need the authority to do, we have under the Emergency Measures Act in terms of initiating the conversations like we've done for assistance, for funding. We've already done that. I think a state of emergency in the United States is different than it is for us here, to engage some of the other funding mechanisms in the United States, you need to declare that state of emergency. I'm not quite familiar with what the Municipal Act is in Nova Scotia or why those communities would have done that and for what reason. But Tanya, do you want to again explain what our legislation allows us to do here?
Sure. So a state of emergency, again, to clarify, is the purpose is to get authority to do something that we don't already have authority to do within our current legislation or regulation. So I think the example I gave yesterday was to set prices or to ration food. Those would be examples that we don't have authority to do that currently. We don't have the ability to tell, Superstore or Loblaws or any of those people to say only sell 1 liter of milk at a time. But if that's what we needed to do to fix a problem, we would need to declare a state of emergency in order to do that. I do believe in Port aux Basques, Newfoundland, they created or did their state of local emergency. So that's at a municipal level. There is no provincial state of emergency in Nova Scotia. They have declared state of locals, and that's what a municipality does. And under using the same authorities and the same purpose. I do believe Port aux Basques, Newfoundland did it to issue a mandatory evacuation. We're basically forcing people from their homes. We don't have authority to do that. And I do believe in Nova Scotia they declared the state in order to fix prices so that there wouldn't be any price gouging by any type of retailers or even business operators.
Gabrielle, as I said yesterday, this is an emergency, and we're dealing with it as such, and we're putting every resource we can into it, and we have all of the authorities that we need at this time. But as we would with any other crisis we faced, we will evaluate that daily and to see what else needs to be done.
Thank you very much.
Merci. Thank you.
Jeff Moore, CTV.
All right, so my colleagues have hit pretty much anything, so I just wanted to ask one specific question to Maritime Electric. How many crews are on the island right now of electric crews, and how many more are coming?
Okay, so right now we have 69 crews on the road right now. We also have multiple spotters that go ahead, as well as we have surveyors and supervisory personnel. And by Wednesday, we will have 107, which is double what we had for Hurricane Dorian, post-tropical storm Dorian.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Allison Jenkins, The Guardian.
Hello, thank you everyone for working and being available to us at this time. I have a couple of questions about Lenox Island. Just wondering, has anyone heard about, have the crews reported back about access to Lenox Island?
Minister Deagle informed me last night that the access to Lenox Island through the bridge is open, and so that's very much a positive. And I think his crews were going up to do a full assessment as part of our overall infrastructure assessment. But everything that we've heard so far is that at the Lenox Island First Nation is acceptable or is open entrance, and we are hoping that everyone is well up there, as we wish for all islanders.
Great. Second question, when will people have the all clear to visit family or travel on the roads generally, if not a day, then at least a condition of assessment finished or whatnot?
Well, I think that maybe Kim and Tanya could answer. I think once we get the assessment done from Maritime Electric's perspective and our infrastructure, our government infrastructure assessment, I think we would, would continue to ask islanders to be cautious and limit their movements to the best we can, in particular in those areas that are impacted. As I said, there's 6 roads that are currently closed, a number of bridges that aren't operational, and so until we get that full assessment, we don't know what someone would be driving into, so we would urge caution, but yeah.
Perhaps what I would say is that if we're going to keep saying it until we don't have to say it anymore. But I think that if you're having to be out there or needing to be out there for whatever reason, encourage you to at least do it during the day. Because once it's dark, then you don't know what you can't see. So at a minimum, you're going to be safer if you're outside. We're not encouraging you to go outside, just to clarify, but if you have to be out there. But as soon as it's free and, Maritime Electric, once power's up, you're going to know it's safe. The trees we still may have trees on the side of the road, so people will still need to be cautious. Walking on the side of the road, there still could be branches. So, use your best skills there to determine what needs to be determined as where you need to be safe and how.
Great. I have one more question. It's regarding any serious injuries since our last briefing, in the last day.
So what we were told and informed last evening about there has been one fatality, and that is undetermined at this point what the cause is, but it's kind of preliminary, pointing toward generator use. So again, we already spoke to it. We can't urge enough of individuals when we understand that you need to have your generator running, but we just urge you to please use that safely so that we can make sure that that we don't have any further injuries or any fatalities.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Allison.
Joey Black here.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Joey, how are you?
Good, you?
Great,
Premier King.
We're doing great.
Just wondering, do you have any estimation of when you expect to have all the roads open?
I don't at this point, Joey. Minister Deagle will come out tomorrow and give a better answer to a question like that based on the full assessment that they will have a look at. But I mean, obviously, we want to get that open as soon as possible, but might be better to ask that for Minister Deagle on a briefing tomorrow.
Okay. Now, do you know if there's any way, do you know if the province would need any other assistance in any way, shape, or form in any telecommunications or in any of that type of thing?
Well, I mean, the response so far has been incredible. I mean, as Kim from Maritime Electric has said that in preparation for this, they had crews on standby and already in a day or so, our response will be, twice as many crews as we had during Dorian. So that's great. With the military coming on, that'll be helpful as well. And with our transportation and infrastructure crews and the private sector crews that they engage along the way, it really, like, we have thousands of people here at our disposal to get through this as quickly as possible. But as I said in my opening, this is a long process, and I know everyone wants it done as quickly as possible, and we do that. We do as well. But this will take some time. This is the biggest one we've ever faced, and this is going to take some time.
I know it's taken a toll on a lot of people. Now, even myself, trying to get out. Now, yesterday I was trying to gather information, which was quite hard considering I didn't have my cell phone was down. So it was like, okay, how am I going to get this and whatnot? So then that's like anything else, but maybe Tanya can shed some light on this, and if she knows if there's any other agency, any online agencies that may need some help, because I think a colleague of mine had sent Premier or Deputy Minister and Tanya an email on having assistance.
So,
go ahead,
I'm not sure of the specific agency that you're referencing to, but I can assure you that we've gotten several. So I've spent most of my day today trying to reach out to those folks and kind of just understand what their capabilities are, what can they offer to Islanders, and then we can figure out, how long their timelines. A lot of these resources are coming from out of province, and the time to kind of ramp up and get here. But we also want to make sure, when we talk about emergency management, we really urge that people don't do what we call self-deploy. Again, all the great help that is out there, we need to be able to manage it. The concern I would have first off is, where are they going to stay? There's many of us, and I know most of our operations center team, we've been staying in a hotel without power. So that's been an interesting experience. But certainly we want to make sure that we can take care of people that come. So if we have all these resources coming in and there's no hotels, most hotels won't check in new people if they don't have systems working. So we really encourage anyone that is even interested in offering support and coming to our island to offer support, that they go through our EMO, and if I can, that would be the most efficient way to ensure that we have the right resources at the right place.
Because the gentleman I'm speaking of is Ali Mustafa. He's originally from out of province, but he's living in Ontario now, and he was the one that had sent you an email on possibly being of any assistance that he could be.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, Joe. And I know, one of the great things about PEI in Canada are that many people have reached out, and as Tanya said, there's many emails that we're all working through, but anything that we will need above and beyond what we have, we're glad to have the offer, and if we need it, we'll certainly call Ali and others on that. But you stay safe, my friend, and keep up the good work.
I will, and as long as I can keep my phone charged, I will keep up I'm going to try and do up an article in between all your press conferences. So
keep up the good work, Joe. You do a great job, buddy. Thanks now.
Thank you, Premier, and you, to all your residents and all along the province, please stay safe.
Thanks. Well said.
That's all the questions we have today.
Thank you, Vicki. Well, thank you, Minister. Tanya, Kim, please pass on to all your crew the gratitude of all Islanders for their hard work. We know the hours of work that they face ahead of them, and we're grateful to see them, and Tanya as well, to all the crew at EMO. It's so much hard work behind us and so much ahead of us. But to all Islanders, stay safe, and we'll be back tomorrow with another briefing. So, thank you.